And we are back. You are listening to Art Fusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC and 1037 FM, Santa Fe News Talk Leader. I am Ron Whitmore. We are recording this live from the front of Artisan. We just heard a beautiful piece from Jim Oliver, which, for those of you wondering, if you go to jimolivermusic.com, he does worldwide podcast, webcasts all over. You can subscribe. You can see what that's all about. But we were just starting to explore with Kevin Macpherson, who's our visual artist, his new book. And I asked him the question, how does it compare with his old books? You were just starting to get into it. And I have to say, I read 3/4 of Conversations with Nature, which is your new book, and I have had some painting experience. It didn't work out all that well, but I took some lessons from John and Terry Moyers, who I think you know. I traded piano lessons to Terry. And I think everybody that, even if you're not learning to be a painter, should read this book, because it really explains in very simple language how you look at things as a painter, how you look at light, how you look at shadows. And there was one phrase about detail is just smaller shapes, you know, and you think about it and you start thinking about all this stuff, and even if you never touch a paintbrush, you start looking at stuff differently. So I have to give your book great accolades. And how did this book come about? I mean, you already had books. Why did this book come about?
Well, thank you, Ron. When I do the books, they usually take me almost 10 years in between each one of them. I don't want to repeat myself, although much of the information, needs repeating in different ways of communicating to get through to that person, like I started to say earlier. But finding a way that I can say it and say it simply. I like to, when I teach my classes, I say painting is very simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And it really is. So when we can bring it down, just like most any skiing or golfing or music, it comes down to simple principles, but we make it much more difficult. And with teaching all over the world, many different people in different languages too, I have to find a way to really simplify it. And so this book also has a lot more of my personal philosophy. Because it's self-published, I can express myself differently than sometimes Northlight publishers would say. No, just dumb it down, just make 4 simple steps.
Yeah.
So I want to give a little bit more of not only the how to paint, but also the why to paint. And Jim started his music piece by saying that it will help center you and find your true voice. And I think as an artist for myself, and all artists, as we're working towards making paintings of worth, we have to find what our true voice is.
Yeah.
And it's not easy for myself even, but as we get older and paint more and more, you finally start settling into accepting what we really are. And when we grow up as a little child, we're pushed in different directions, this way or that way, that take us away from that centered place.
Well, I guess the thing that impresses me about both of you as guests today is, Jim, if you explore his career, reached a very high level in performing. Obviously he's a great keyboardist and composer, but he took his gift to a higher level. Performing is kind of like, you get accolades and everybody loves you, but when you're actually giving back on a healing level, and I've personally experienced out in your studio, and it's a healing that you're receiving when you're listening to the music and the sound, and the light that is coordinated with the sound. And you're the same way. It's like you could make all your money by doing paintings and doing gallery shows and stuff, but besides your foundation for children, you're also giving your gift back by teaching other people to look at it simply and be able to experience the same kind of joy that you've had in your life through painting. And that's a tremendous level to be at, to be successful enough to say, it's time to give. It's time to give back.
Yeah, and actually teaching is something I never thought I would do. And writing, I don't even like to read books, so I've written 4 now, but it's something that has become one of the most rewarding parts of my life. In the whole career of art, the painting, as you say, and the traveling that I get to do because of the plein air painting, And then, but the gift of teaching someone how to see and changing their life, and they come up to me, and literally many people, there's one gal in China is becoming a successful artist now, and I totally changed her life path by giving her the gift of seeing and painting.
And once you see, you can't forget. I mean, I know, like, I read, you even in your book, you have on some of the lower parts of the pages of just little simple phrases, whether it's about shadow or seeing light, and I can't remember all of them, but it's just simple wisdoms, and you just reflect on that for a minute. It's like, oh my God, that's easy. Yeah, that's, I mean, just, and you don't forget that. I mean, that's something that you'll take away from you forever. So
it also creates difficulty in driving too, because you'll start seeing differently, and you won't notice things you're supposed to do.
So what now? You're teaching. Are you still teaching all over the world, or what is your focus now?
I am. I just got back from China about a month ago, and I was teaching a class of Chinese students in Shanghai.
Okay.
And then just literally as I drove down from Taos today, one of my sponsored children down in Guatemala, she called me on my phone and FaceTimed me. She hasn't talked to me in a while, and working with some children down there and some young adults down there that are becoming very fine artists that I hope can become treasures of Guatemala.
Uh-huh. So you're actually teaching the children to paint down there?
A few of them,
Okay.
There's a few young people, and then, my volunteer work usually is with younger children, maybe 7 to high school, and then I also teach adults on a different level.
Yeah. Jim, I want to turn a question to you, because this is a question that we didn't explore last time, and I became interested in sound and light healing a while back and read somewhat about it, but I'm not a pioneer and I haven't explored it as deep as you have. And we explored your career, which is a phenomenal career, from the Sundance Studio with Robert Redford as a composer to you were performing. You were in Las Vegas performing for a while? And
I did a lot of years in Vegas.
A lot of years.
You betcha.
You got an I Did Vegas t-shirt?
Yeah, and it was in the 70s when Vegas was still Vegas rather than a theme park like it is now. It was about music and entertainment, and Sinatra and Dean Martin, and the good old boys were still playing. The Barachi was there, Streisand was there, so it was a great opportunity to learn with some really great talent.
But switching from the performing is sort of an ego-based thing, or at least sort of. I mean, when you're a performer, you're up there and you're playing your stuff, your soul. When did you start learning that there was a healing property to music, and what is that what is it?
That's a great question. So much of a performance is, if you're playing cover tunes or if you're playing classical, is geared towards how do you express that already written piece of music. So it becomes judged, and a lot of times people tune out because they've heard it so many times before. And what I want to do with music is have people tune in, have the music be an integral part on a cellular level of their life experience and their life experience of themselves, because that's really what matters.
Yeah.
It's all about you and yourself and how you receive. As Kevin talked about with the art, he's teaching people how to see. And with the music, we're offering an opportunity to truly feel your heart, feel your emotions, and if something comes up, to actually inquire, what is this about? And then look more deeply into where did that programmed response of, I feel this way, so I have to go eat some chocolate, I have to go have a beer, I have to go for a run, I have to go do something to not feel what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And music is all emotion. And in a movie, music is the emotion of a movie. The soundtrack is the emotion. That's what sets you up for anticipation, for participation, and completion. And we do that musically with different types of chords, chord progressions, modulations. And also we're aware that the body is like a tuning fork. The body is really a series of acupuncture meridians, and those points between the meridians, if you were to stretch a string between those points, those are tunable points. So
Wow.
if energy's not flowing, rather than having to stick a needle in somebody, we can find the tones that appeal to those, find the frequency that activates those, and then create a piece of music that integrates that into the whole being.
We're going to get Jim to play another piece in just a few seconds. We're with Kevin Macpherson and Jim Oliver. You're listening to Art Fusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC and 103.7 FM. We'll be right back. Hang on.